Hey, welcome everybody to the first Rush Hour preview show of the Giants Vikings. I got my man, Michael the Truth,
How you
hanging
doing,
out with
Chris?
us. Doing well,
How you
Michael.
doing?
How's everything going?
Good, good. Keeping busy. I'm excited for this year. I guess because I'm an optimistic person, but Giants made a lot of changes, and you guys all talked about that, about all the personnel moves, and hopefully they could prove it on the field.
Absolutely. We got Mark Stewart just jumping right in. Mark, thanks for joining us tonight. I know we're doing the Wednesday Rush Hour, so
Cousin Mark.
yeah. So so Mark, thanks for coming in. Yeah, man, G family, we always appreciate your support and everybody else. Mike, we and everybody that's popping in soon. We have Matthew Coller from the Purple Insider, formerly of ESPN and beat writer and reporter for the Minnesota Vikings. So we're going to get some good intel from the Vikings. What's going on in Viking land this past week or so, and the last few days with Jordan Addison, who's battling an ankle injury. So it's going to be some good stuff tonight. We're going to get to, but let's just go over a few things, Mike, as we kick it off. I'll give you a quick injury report, everybody. So today with the limited action, Mike, this was I don't remember this for a long time, even going back to game ones last year. All 53 players on the roster practiced today. So
I
good
know.
sign.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Limited where Dane Belton with the back, Drew Lock is abdomen, Micah McFadden still battling the groin, which could be like he might be a game time decision, questionable for Sunday. We'll get the status report tomorrow as we go into Thursday, and then Gunner Zalewski with the groin, he was practicing but also limited. So, which brings up, William Colon, thanks for jumping in here tonight, man. So, Mike, interesting enough, Adoree Jackson was at practice catching punts. And a couple years ago, when he was the
Oh
number
boy.
one, all us
Yeah,
Giant fans were very in an uproar, like, hey, don't put him back there. He's a number one. And then he gets the ankle injury. Mike, what's your
yeah.
thoughts about him possibly? He just came back a few days ago, but what's your thoughts about him if they need him to return punts? Do you like that? Or would you rather have somebody else if Gunner can't go game time?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what Garner's availability is. But they got him. I would think they got him for the cornerback position as their priority. So I'm a little skeptical him returning punts. I am. But if there's nobody else, then I understand that he's got to do the job if no one else can do it. But hopefully Garner can do it.
Yeah, and it looks like he's we'll get the status report tomorrow, but it looks like he could be questionable, but he's
Uh,
trending in the right, the right area there. But if they have to put Adoree back there because they feel comfortable with him because he's done it before, he's not the number one that maybe he used to be. Banks is the number one, and he's only been here a few days. So I would think if they have faith in Adoree, if he has to go, they'll do that. Because really, when you let McKenzie go, or with the injury settlement, I'm not sure who else you really put back there. I mean, I don't know Tyrone Tracy on the kickoffs, but I don't know if you're going to put him back. Slayton, I think they have Slayton down there as all catching punts as well.
oh,
So
I didn't know Slate never did that. I can't
yeah, they
remember
had him in
doing that.
practice.
Oh,
So
okay. And Chris, they usually give it by Thursday, right? The final injury report, is that what it is? By
yeah,
Thursday,
actually,
right?
yeah, and Friday you'll get the actual, questionable, doubtful. So that's the one. I think tomorrow we're still going to get the regular limited or did not practice designation, but on Friday I believe we're going to get the probable, doubtful, breakdown. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Dan Berry Sports Highlights, man. Thanks for jumping in. So we appreciate you guys sharing the next hour with us. Uh, What's your thoughts, Mike, going into the Vikings game? I know we're gonna have Matt coming in, and we're gonna get to truths at the end of the show. Truth did a whole breakdown of what he believes, the key matchups are, and for a Giants victory, Vikings victory. But Mike, just real quick before Matt comes on, what are your concerns about? Give me besides what the good stuff the Giants do. What are your main concerns for the Giants going into the Vikings game?
Well, my main concern, I think, like every Giant fan, we want to see them compete and win these close games, because I think it's going to be a close game. Last year we lost 4 games, I think by a total of, I might be wrong, like a total of 10, 12 points. And it was very close, and it could have gone either way. And we all know the games we're talking about. The Jet game, the Ram game was a close one, and
Buffalo,
another one, and that could have put the Giants at 9 wins to 10 wins last year. So I think I want to see this team execute better. I want to see this team, make plays. They increase, and I think they improve the roster over the offseason, especially with playmakers. I want to see these guys be utilized and make plays.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, we've been lacking, big game plays for a long time, and obviously with the neighbors, that's what we're getting back to, that Odell type of stuff where he could break that slant and take it to the house. He can get deep, and that brings up, one of the questions that concerns, not even a concern, but we want Neighbors and Slayton and Hyatt to be these big play receivers, but I do believe with Brian Flores, we're going to see possibly, and we'll ask Matt this when he comes on, a lot of that 2 safety high, right? Where they're going to try and maybe keep everything underneath, a lot of underneath stuff, and the Vikings aren't going to let the Giants beat them deep. And I feel like the Giants, like we were saying, Mike, it's kind of a mirror of both, right? With the Giants secondary, I feel like the same thing. They're going to play too high possibly and say, go ahead, beat us with the run, because we're not going to let Jefferson, Addison, beat us deep.
Yeah, I think both teams defensively are going to rely on their front 7. I think, like you said, I think they're going to rely on those guys to help stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback. And like you just said, it's a mirror. These 2 teams very much resemble each other. That's what I see anyway. I see the same type of personnel, same type of game plan that they're going to have against each other.
Interesting enough, Stephon Gilmore is the starter on the other corner spot, and he came in 3 weeks ago, right? Adoree comes in a few days ago. So very interesting. The past few weeks, both teams have picked up veterans that have a lot of game experience, and they're going to play. So it's going to be interesting to see what Gilmore has left. He played pretty well last year, but let's see. After 3 weeks, basically in camp and then into the season, how he fares, and are they going to play more zone, or is he going to travel with Neighbors? So it's going to be interesting to watch the chess match, I guess. With Neighbors. It is. And the secondary.
And you mentioned off camera about the depth that the Vikings have at cornerback. It's right there, or even worse than what the Giants got. So both teams do have issues and question marks at that cornerback position.
Interesting enough, Mike, just what you said, he played really well when he was here. Fabian Monroe is backing up Stephon Gilmore on that side as a corner. And he was a guy that played pretty well when he was here. Yeah.
He did. He was a good role piece. He really was.
Almost like I don't want to say like a McLeod, but very similar, like a McLeod, both of them. And that is actually, Mike, just hang on 1 second. Battery's running low, so we're going to have to plug this in. But Mike, and like I said, Matt should be jumping in a couple minutes with us. But Mike, with the tight ends, and I know you're big on the tight ends. Do you see, Bellinger, Theo Johnson? I would think Bellinger's going to get a bulk of the playing time, but how much of a role? Because Theo Johnson's kind of under the radar. Penn State didn't throw the ball a lot. He's a freak athlete. Do you think Theo Johnson becomes a target in this game, or he under the radar? Or tell me about the tight end position you see with the Giants, with the Vikings.
Well, the Giants, if you prioritize the Giants offense, you would think that they will look at the tight end position and near the bottom. You look at the Giants, they got plentiful talent at the wide receiver position now. You got Neighbors and Robertson. You got Hyatt, who still is a little raw, but I want to see him get snaps. And you got Slayton, and then you got some running backs there. That Singletary, he's going to get his touches. So I don't know how much in game 1 you're going to see any impact from a tight end aside from blocking. I hope to see that evolve as the season moves forward, and Bellinger gets some some opportunity because he did a good job his rookie year. I really liked the way he played. And this kid Johnson is very athletic. And if he can translate that on the football field in the NFL, he could be a major steal in round 4. I believe they got him in.
Yeah.
Well, that just remains to be seen how they develop throughout the season.
Yeah, and the blocking with the offensive line. So we're probably looking at obviously Illuminor at right tackle, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to see, Schmitz, how he fares with starting at center with the shoulder and the ankle, or he got rolled up on. But if anything happens to Schmitz, we're probably going to see a move where Van Rotten moves to center, and then they put Stinney in at the guard spot.
That's exactly right, because they gave him a lot of snaps when they first picked him up. So it's this Giants offensive line. On paper, it looks a lot better than who we had starting game 1 last year. They just have to do it on the field. That's all.
Yeah.
As simple as that. So that right now we have a fingers crossed with that, because that's vital. That's vital how well they play. It will determine how well we do it and if we can win this game.
Yeah, and I think the running game with Singletary, they're probably. I mean, in my opinion, I almost feel like Singletary have a bigger role maybe early on to try and get everything comfortable for Jones and try and establish that run. As much as we want Jones and the offense to throw the ball, I think they're going to establish it, see what they can do with the running game right out of the gates.
I agree with that. I think they're going to do that and kind of like spoon feed them and let the game develop and dictate what they're going to do. I agree with that. What are you doing over there? Putting together
Man, I am having problems. Yeah, I didn't realize, this laptop, the battery is already down, and I'm like, oh my god, I got a crazy situation here with wires, so I got to get this. Or this show is going off quick, So this is let me get this situated here. I think I'm almost there. So, and we got time. I think Matt should be on any minute, but we'll get him locked.
And we're gonna have Matt's coming on, so we're gonna have some interesting matchups. You want to wait till Matt comes on before we talk about that?
Yeah, I think so. Truth, because we're going to get that inside scoop with everything from Matt. So that's gonna be, definitely we're going to get it inside. And Matt's great. Yeah, I know. Here we go. Oh, I got it. Oh,
here's some interesting tidbits I got here. And last year with the Vikings, they led the league in blitz and doing blitz packages. They had 51% of the time they blitzed. So they led the league, and I was shocked. I thought the Giants would blitzed more than anybody, but they didn't.
Wow! So they led the league at 51%.
51%, but they play a lot of zone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they play a lot of zone, 69% of the time, which kind of makes sense if you're going to blitz like that. So that's important. The Giants historically, at least over the last few years, have had issues with blitzes and stunts. Right?
We know that with the stunts. That's right.
Right?
Yep. So that has been yep. And that's going back before Will Hernandez, and we know how Will Hernandez handled stunts.
That's right.
I mean, it was like, yeah. But go ahead, Mike. You're absolutely right. And that's been an issue.
So if the Giants' new and improved line can work together and pick up some of these stunts, and it doesn't have to be every time, but just pick up on them just enough to give Jones that little bit of a fraction of a second to just get rid of the ball, it could make a difference. Get the ball into the playmaker's hands. That's what they got to do. That's simple as that. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, and we're still waiting on Matt. But we were saying earlier, Mike, and we kind of like you were saying a mirror image. It's kind of like you feel like the Vikings aren't going to let the Giants beat them deep. And I feel like there's going to be crossers with Wandell, neighbors. Everything's going to be underneath too. And they're going to say, go ahead, beat us with the crossers if Daniel Jones could do it, and beat us with the running game. They are not, in my opinion, they are not going to let neighbors or Slayton or Hyatt beat them unless it's a breakdown in coverage or that running game just runs wild. And now they're forced to come up a little bit and pay attention to the running game. So quite a chess match.
That could be vital.
Yeah,
that could be vital, Chris. I mean, whichever team can establish the run better and be more productive, it's going to open up other doors and avenues for the offense on either side. it's how football was always meant to be played. I thought anyway.
Yeah.
But and nowadays it's more a passing league. But I still think the run is important to have on your team. Good running game.
Yeah, especially with both quarterbacks, like we said, with an Aaron Jones and with a Singletary, a Tracy, establishing that run first, especially with both of these quarterbacks, kind of middle of the road, if you want to say that. But anyway, without further ado, Matt Coller's joining us.
All right.
Let's bring in Matt. He does a great job. I'll let him hear it. I'll toot his horn when he gets in here. Hey, Matt, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight.
What's up? Great to be here. How are you guys?
All right. I feel like we're doing great. I feel like we're all friends. The last time we spoke was in June. We've been paying attention to your shows. Everybody, Matt Coller does a great job for the Purple Insider. You could follow him on Twitter at Matthew Coller. All the detailed Vikings information for this week's game, and then NFL stuff as well. So yeah, definitely give a follow to Matt. But Matt, we're appreciate you giving us a few minutes, Matt. So we were just breaking down kind of the mirror image of both teams with the quarterback situation. The Gilmore, the Dory Jackson kind of just came on board a few weeks ago. We both in an agreement, Mike and I. Tell me what you think, Matt. We feel like the Giants aren't going to let Jefferson and Addison beat them deep, and I feel like the Vikings are not going to let Neighbors, Hyatt, and some of the Speedsters or in Slayton beat them deep as well. I feel like both teams are going to bring those safeties up a little more high, protected high, and say, go ahead, beat us with the running game, and then we'll loosen things up. What's your feeling on the defense approach for the Vikings?
Yeah, it's always been interesting how opposing teams try to go against Justin Jefferson. And in the playoff game, and I know it's a different defensive coordinator now for the Giants, but in the playoff game a couple of years ago, they were able to limit Justin Jefferson, but TJ Hawkinson was the one who had the gigantic day. Well, he's not going to be playing in this game. It'll be Johnny Munt instead as their starting tight end, along with Josh Oliver mixing in. And I was actually just asking Kevin O'Connell about this today, about playing with bigger personnel, because throughout his career, he's been mostly an 11 personnel coach. He was with Sean McVay. They're all about 11 personnel in Los Angeles. But the Vikings have a fullback. They have two big giant tight ends that they could throw the football to. And really, they only have two established wide receivers now that KJ Osborne signed with the New England Patriots, that they don't have that number 3 wide receiver that is as locked in. So it's kind of a committee with that position. And I think that they want to look for other options outside of Jefferson, maybe have more guys that could potentially get the ball. And instead of trying to push it to him 15 times, you're looking at him trying to get a couple of explosives off and then distributing the ball to a lot of different people. There's not a clear-cut wide receiver 3, Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell. These are guys that your audience probably hasn't heard of too much. And I think that some of these guys who are not really big names in the league could end up playing a big role, as well as I heard you guys, talking about the run. Aaron Jones out of the backfield in the passing game. That's something the Vikings have not had in the last 2 years at all, especially last year. Aaron Jones is one of the better pass-catching running backs of probably the last 10 years. So I think that part of the game, the underneath stuff, is going to play a big role here. If you could get Sam Darnold to actually do it, I think what we've seen in training camp is that he likes to push the ball down the field. He likes to throw it into those tight windows because he does have a very talented arm. So can they keep him contained a little bit to throwing underneath and not just always trying to push the ball to Justin Jefferson? Because if I played with Justin Jefferson, I'd probably try to do the same thing. So can they have someone else that can beat the Giants?
Yeah. And Tudo, thank you for jumping in here. $4.99 donating to the show. We appreciate that. And thanks, Mark, for stopping by. Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. Matt, talking about Jalen Naylor, he's going to be the slot, correct? He'll be the more or less.
Sort of, yeah. I don't think they want to move guys around. Like they like Justin Jefferson playing in the slot. They like Jordan Addison in the slot, and they actually really like tight ends in the slot as well. If you go back and look at Hawkinson's usage from last year, he had 50% of his snaps that were not the inline tight end position. Now it isn't Hawkinson playing, so it's a different skill set for Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver, but I think they will keep the fundamental role there of having the tight end lineup sometimes in the slot, having those guys mix in and out. I look at Naylor as more of an outside and deep type receiver, whereas Brandon Powell is more of your traditional slot. And they're also going to mix in Trent Sherfield as well, who's kind of bounced around, but he brings a little more of a toughness element. They like to run out of personnel with him in there. So I think you're going to get Jefferson, and this is one of the ways they've been able to succeed with Jefferson, despite every team trying to come in with a plan, is they will move him around to lots of different places. You'll see lots of the tight splits where everybody's in. You'll see bunch formations. I think Kevin O'Connell knows that each week he's going to have to get in his bag of tricks to find different ways for Jefferson to be open, knowing how much attention is going to be on it.
Yeah, interesting enough, Matt, and jump in, Truth. But we saw that with Brian Dable and Neighbors during training camp, moving him all around to the X, the Y, the Z, and just trying to create matchups that will benefit the offense. So yeah, to your point, I think the Giants are doing something similar with Neighbors because they know everybody's that's the main focal point, even as a rookie. Moving along with. I remember one of your shows, the guard position. You made me chuckle because the guard position for the Vikings, and I don't obviously follow the Vikings, on a daily basis, but similar to the Giants, the tackle position, the right tackle position has been a sore. The guard position for the longest time, and obviously with Dalton Reiser out, that would seem to be the weak link on the inside, right, Matt?
Yeah, Jumbo Elliott is not walking through that door to play guard for this team. I mean, it's incredible. They've had, I went back and looked at this a couple of years ago, but I think it was 10 straight years of different guard combinations to start the season, which is just crazy. And then now they have another new guard combination to start the season. And it has been very much a sore spot. They're starting a left guard, Blake Brandel, who was a 6th round pick tackle and then developed for a couple of years. This man is absolutely massive. I mean, Jumbo Elliott, not quite that size, but he is enormous, like 6'7", 315 pounds. And they're hoping for a little more road grader action from him, a little bit better in the pass protection. But the weak point, I think, still is the right guard, Ed Ingram. And again, to reference that playoff game, he did not have a very good playoff game against the interior of the Giants defensive line. That's the weak point. He's struggled over his first 2 seasons with identifying stunts and twists and blitzes and things like that. And also he just has these quick losses. And I don't know how to tell someone to stop doing that. That's like telling, somebody to stop striking out or something. Like some guys just strike out, big swingers. And I think that if he can learn a little bit to not try to be a big swinger, and if he becomes a little bit more, able to identify different things that defenses are doing when they are throwing in those blitzes at him and stuff like that, that he can improve just enough to survive. But what we've seen from him, I think, over 2 years is probably more close to who he is. The one thing he did have last year was a few very good games, which did not exist in his rookie year. So maybe there is some progress there. You don't need either of those guys, I think, to be phenomenal because of how good the tackles are. And I actually think Garrett Bradbury has improved quite a bit as a center over the last 2 years. He's the leader of that unit. But if those weak points, if both of them are weak, you're in trouble. If one of them is weak, I think you can survive it. You can give that guy help. Even they like to put in their fullback, CJ Ham, sometimes in pass pro to help a little bit more on the interior, which is something that this team has unique about them. But if Blake Brandel isn't ready for it, and this guy has only played 500 career snaps, then somebody like Dexter Lawrence is just going to eat. It could be a really tough day on the interior if both of those guys aren't on their game.
Yeah, and to add on what you're saying, they may have to double team Dexter, which could open up things for Tibbs and also Burns. Now that we have Burns, that's a big plus for us.
Right, absolutely. And, I think of some of the great Giants D-lines when they were beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl and things like that. It wasn't just one guy. Excuse me. It's never one guy. If you have 4 people who can cause problems, you just can't give extra help. You can't chip both sides of the line. You can't switch your protection to shift to one side or focus on it. And I think that's where you could see Thibodeau having an impact where Burns is going to get a lot of attention. But at the same time, Burns and Christian Darrisaw have some history. They faced each other before. I believe it was Darrisaw's even first start, I think, that he ever had was against Carolina and Brian Burns. This is why you pay your left tackle a ton of money. And you guys have the same thing over there. Because if you can take the best pass rusher from the other team and assign him to one person, then it allows for a lot more there. And also with that big personnel, I think someone like Josh Oliver could be huge in this game. He is the best run blocking tight end in the NFL by PFF last season. Just in general, a massive human being for a tight end. He's an old school. Mark Bavaro would be happy with Josh Oliver, old school giant dude who can really block. So that may be, you line up him on one side, leave Darisaw on the other side, and then Prey in the middle.
And that brings up a concern, Matt, because as much as we love Thibodeau and we see his game, getting better, the running game isn't a strong point yet for him. And I feel like teams do go at him, and he has a hard time, on the edge, stopping the run. So to your point with the big tight end, I could see that being part of the plan for the Vikings to just go at him and see if they can establish that running game.
Yeah. Right. And this is one of the most interesting storylines, I think, of the season for the Vikings is over the first 2 years. I was looking at this the other night. I believe it was 16 times that Kirk Cousins threw over 35 passes in 25 games with Kevin O'Connell. So way more than half the time he's throwing over 35 passes. But Sam Darnold in his career, when he's thrown over 35 passes, is 2-14. So that's not what you want to be doing. And I know how those stats work about, you're playing from behind and throwing a lot, but you could see from the Kirk stat, I think he won 10 out of those 16 games. That was the driving force of their offense. And just even, in that playoff game in 2022, he threw a lot of passes. They weren't necessarily bombs or deep down the field. It was a lot of off to the tight end underneath. He was perfectly happy to do that, even on 4th and 8, unfortunately for the Vikings. But that's something that, are they going to actually switch their philosophy a bit and lean on Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler a lot more? Can Kevin O'Connell do this? He's a former quarterback. He came from the Rams, where it was 5,000 yards for Matthew Stafford when they won the Super Bowl. I don't know that he's the type of Gary Kubiak or Mike Shanahan that's just going to ground and pound and then hit you with a play action. But he also might have to be with Sam Darnold as his quarterback. And I think about, because Kubiak was here for a couple of years, and I was just incredibly impressed with him as a coach and an offensive mind. He just had this great understanding of when to hit the shot play. And so he would be patient and he would run the football. And if it didn't work all the time, he would stick with it and just wait for the other team to get a little impatient and then hit a deep shot. That's not been Kevin O'Connell's mentality, but can he borrow from that just a little bit and be more of a running team? We're going to find out. I'm not convinced until I see it, but I think that to win this game, they might have to be.
Yeah, even to your point, Matt, with Pat Shurmur when he was there with Zimmer, similar situation with Case Keenum, right? Just raise the level of play. Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
So, Matt, if you had to say right now, the Vikings going into this game, do you believe they're going to lean more on the running game right out of the gates and establish that first before they start taking some shots downfield?
Yeah, I mean, this team sometimes will first play of the game try to take a shot down the field, and the way that Sam Darnold,
not a bad idea though. Loosen everything up. I've always said that. Whether it's an incomplete throw to the outside boundary, and it puts everybody on notice, right?
Right. Just let it. Right. Exactly. Put that in everybody's mind, and if you hit it, the other team is miserable that you get an explosive right off the start. It's been something to watch Sam Darnold up close, because all of us see a handful of games of different quarterbacks and we have our impressions and then we have stats. But until you've actually watched every snap of someone, until you've watched training camp and practice of someone, then you really know what kind of quarterback they are. And what I see from Darnold is such tremendous arm talent to push the ball down the field. But I think when it comes to stuff in the middle of the field, that's where the whole seeing ghost thing comes in. That's where he believes too much in his arm talent. And when he gets pressured, a little bit jittery in the pocket, a little bit trying too hard to make some crazy arm angle throw that isn't actually there. And I think what they want to do with him is to limit all of that stuff by leaning on the run game first. But also, he's got such a good arm. I think they'll be enticed to try to be aggressive at times down the field. It'll just be a matter of picking their spots, I think. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised though if Kevin O'Connell sort of goes back to that. All right, we're down 10 points. Let's start throwing every play. I don't think that's a good model to win with Sam Darnold, but his arm talent is enticing when you actually watch it. And I think overall during training camp, He has had a really, really good camp. And before I covered the Vikings, I was in Buffalo, and I remember what EJ Manuel looked like in training camp. And that was another high draft pick that didn't work out. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a guy who's much more competent and capable of getting the ball to his receivers than that. He actually at times was making me wonder, how is this guy not worked out because his arm is so good?
Because he was with the Jets, Matt.
Well, and it's just not that hard to get yourself talked into it when you see him up close in practice, but obviously it has to play out in the real games.
Matt, I have a saying, the Jets, you go to the Jets where careers never begin and careers end.
Yeah, that's right. Man, that list of Jets quarterbacks is absolutely wild.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying, I was going to just piggyback off Matt. Everything he just said, you could say the same thing about the Giants and Daniel Jones, and probably the Giants game plan. Let's run the ball, loosen it up a little bit, and then, let Jones throw some little, I guess, high percentage short passes, get him in the flow, and then stretch the field a little bit if you're moving the ball. It's so much of a mirror, these two teams. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, even though I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it could be pretty ugly. What is interesting to me about Daniel Jones, and this is where, when people ask me about this matchup, and it's like, well, they're playing Daniel Jones. Like, hold on. I saw him beat the Vikings in a playoff game and also put up a ton of yards against them earlier in that year. Now, the Vikings defense is way better than it was when he did that, and he has them to thank for a $40 million contract. But I also have more respect for his talent than I think a lot of people do. They sort of groan Daniel Jones, But what I wonder about him post-injury is about the mobility, because what Brian Daboll did with him in the running game was so interesting to me. He was a weapon, and there was a key fourth down in that playoff game where he had to run for a first down, and he got it, and that kind of put the dagger in the Vikings back a little bit in that game. And he was a serious threat with his legs, but he's had several injuries since then that make me wonder, does he still have that in him, or is he going to try to dink and dunk? The other thing too, I was looking back at the receivers that he's thrown to in his career, and this is where he and Sam Darnold could have a couple of drinks and a conversation about their receivers they've had over the years. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, Richie James didn't even not even make a team or something, or is he there? Like what? Like this was a main receiver for him a couple of years ago, and to have a Justin Jefferson style talent in Malik Neighbors, I've just seen the impact of how a great wide receiver can take a quarterback. Because I think quarterbacks like Darnold and Jones, they're never going to be top 5. But under the right circumstances, are they top 15? Jones has already done that. I think Darnold has done that for stretches, including at the end of 2022. So I think a lot of people are thinking, well, this is just a matchup of bad quarterbacks. Both are capable of having good games depending on what's around them.
Yeah, and most Giant fans, and Mike, you jump in, the knock that we all, when you call it objectively, is the pocket presence and the progressions. That has been the two big things that Giant fans see in Jones. But now he has all the pieces in place, and he's one of those quarterbacks where he's not necessarily going to make everybody around him look better. He needs those pieces. So now with the right tackle, Luminor coming over from the Raiders, and now with Neighbors and Slayton and White, he has a good group. This really is a time where the excuses have kind of run out, and we have to see, more of what the 22 was, or even better. So, yeah, to your point, I agree.
I think the same thing goes for both of these quarterbacks. They're kind of looking in the mirror a little bit at each other. Jones had a little more success, but the teams believe in them for a reason, right? These teams, as much as there's a lot of criticism for front offices and there's misevaluations and draft busts, a lot of the times they see something. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of people in those buildings making decisions. And Kevin O'Connell and Brian Daboll are not fools. These guys know quarterback play. I mean, Daboll was with Josh Allen, and Kevin O'Connell won the Super Bowl in Los Angeles, and these are their quarterbacks. So I think that there's a reason both guys are sticking with these quarterbacks and giving them another chance. But this is it, though, I think, for both. If it doesn't work out in these seasons, okay, there's no more giving Sam Darnold one more shot. There's no giving Daniel Jones one more shot. Then it's going to be time to move on. And this is where it begins. So even though it's week 1 for both teams, sort of setting the stage for the rest of the season, making that first impression, is a big deal, I think, for both quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Matt, Mike brought up a great stat before, which I had no idea. With Flores last year, 51% of the time, right, Mike, that he was blitzing.
Yeah, that's the stat I have for last year. They were right up there, if not the first tops in the league in blitz. And do you think, and would it make sense to do that with Jones? Right, make him rush, make him throw the ball ill-advised to the wrong areas.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the thing about the blitz percentage last year was, I think it was half that Brian Flores is kind of a lunatic and is willing to try anything and everything to get the job done and doesn't care how it's ever been done before. But also a lot of it was just desperation because they had Danielle Hunter. He got 16 and a half sacks. The rest of the team, though, I think they finished maybe 23rd in sacks. There wasn't a lot of other pass rush outside of Danielle Hunter. And the only way that he could create pressure was just by sending extra people. And I also think that what he did there, it wasn't necessarily always about getting a sack. It was also about setting up his drop eights, because he also did that more than anybody else in the league. What he would do is show the same type of blitz several times and then drop everybody after that. So then the quarterback drops back expecting to have to hit his hot. And then, oh, wait, that's not the look I expected. So now what do I do? And what we saw a lot of quarterbacks do against the Vikings was they would throw that hot anyway, and then the Vikings would just tackle the guy. And so they were able to keep other teams from getting explosives for the majority of the season. By the end of the year, they lost a few players. They also faced the Lions twice, Cincinnati, teams with good weapons. And that was really the difference. And I think what it comes down to always is the personnel. And Stephon Gilmore kind of just got here, but he's a really good player for his career. He's a guy that's going to be huge for this game. They also brought over Shaq Griffin. He was with the Texans last year, a little bit with Carolina as well. Has kind of bounced around since having a good start to his career. Byron Murphy on his second team as well, had an up and down season last year. A lot of this will come down to, because they're strong up front, and especially at the edges, they're strong, the linebackers, is the cornerback group going to hold on, especially when they're facing a talent like Malik Neighbors, who, of course, he's got to prove it, but I think we all saw what he looks like. So that's gonna be a big deal for how they have to play, because if they feel like their corners are getting roasted, then they're gonna have to give more attention to that. Then they can't send as many blitzes. Then he's gonna have to make a quick adjustment. But I do think we're gonna see less blitzing because they brought in Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and drafted Dallas Turner. That's made, and Jihad Ward is more in a role fit for him, which is that situational rusher rather than playing 600 snaps.
Right.
I just thought of the Jihad Ward revenge game angle. I don't know why we haven't been talking about that.
How about Fabian Monroe, our old friend from 2 years ago? He played very well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's a main factor, is if the corners, which I think are improved from last year, if they are having a good game, then you don't have to do as much crazy stuff. And I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah. Once again, mirror image with the Giants secondary at the corner spot. I think Giant fans and the Giants themselves, just the fact they went out and got Adoree after a couple of weeks of contemplating it, it's the same types of situation. So yeah. Matt, before we let you run, Mike, do you want to go over anything with Matt in terms of some of the matchups?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the number one matchup is going to be who's guarding Jefferson. That's probably going to be Banks. And that's going to be a tall order for that young man. It's only his second year, so he's going to be tested right out of the gate with that matchup.
Still hasn't proven to be a true one. We like Banks, and most Giant fans believe in him, but he hasn't proven yet to be a one, and that's the scary part.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day because it's funny. I moved from Buffalo to Minnesota to cover the Vikings, and Stephon Gilmore was in Buffalo. And then years and years later, it's like, oh, hey, look at us. Right. We're in the same spot. And that happens sometimes. And I was thinking about how when I covered him in Buffalo, his first year was kind of rocky. And now he's considered one of the best in the league over the last 5-6 years, won the MVP. I think that cornerback position takes years because the receivers are so good in the NFL. If you face 3 good receivers in college that become NFL quality players. That's a lot for your schedule. And then if you're, playing for the Giants, it's like, okay, here's Jefferson, here's AJ Brown, here's Terry McLaurin, here's just like day in and day out. CD Lamb you're facing twice a year. Good luck, friend. And then everyone tweets out, wow, this guy gave up a lot of yards. Well, no kidding. He was on CD Lamb or whatever. So, I think we're really harsh on corners. I like a lot of what I see with Banks. The number one thing for me is if the guy is a fighter, I think he can figure it out. And that's what I see from him. I think he's a fighter. So that's going to be a real physical battle. Nobody outside of a game with Jair Alexander, nobody really shuts down Justin Jefferson. I think that's got to be a full type of team effort because O'Connell is so good at getting him open. I've wondered if a team was going to do the Calvin Johnson at some point and put 2 guys right up at the line and try to stop him at that point, because there's no answer. It's not like, oh, keep him in front of you. Well, he'll get yards after catch. Right. Double team him. Okay, well, he could still catch it when he's double teamed anyway, or O'Connell puts him in motion, or, all the different things. So it's going to be, as it always is, a big challenge for Banks. But just as far as how I feel about it, watching and doing a little research on him leading in, I think that he's going to be a good player.
Yeah, we do too, whether he'll be a 1 or not. We hope so. He's physical, like you said, Matt, and he comes up in the running game, which is great. And all the rules, right? They're all geared toward the receivers nowadays. So anything you do, they're going to throw a flag, or they're looking to throw a flag. So, yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I'm right with you on that. Strange question for you. The kicker, rookie out of Alabama. How did he do in training camp? Because this is one of these games with Cano coming off the knee injury, and you have Will Richard, right? Kicker from Alabama, rookie. Obviously, he made the team, so he did well. What's your gut with him? And you feel comfortable? Do Viking fans feel comfortable with him stepping out and kicking a 47-yarder at the end of regulation if it came down to that?
Yeah, Reichard is how it's pronounced. Okay. Yeah, he's I don't know if he's going to be the next Brad DeLuiso or not, but he's honestly, I said this the other day on my show. I've now covered, I don't know how many kickers, the Vikings and kickers.
Right.
This was the best training camp I've ever seen from a kicker. Really? I don't know what that means. I'm just saying it is. Okay. And I've got this theory about Will Reichard and young kickers. I'm watching college football, and one of my favorite things about college football is how hilarious the kicking is. And this weekend I'm watching them, and they're making them. They're making them from like 50 yards. What's going on here? And I talked to Will Reichard's trainer, who had been working with him since he was in 6th grade. And he was saying that he's been kind of a savant. Like he would come 6th, 7th grade to these camps and beat out juniors and beat out seniors. And I was just thinking about how everything in the world is so much more specialized than when we were younger. At how, maybe a kid who's kicking was a running back and they said, hey, kick a ball. Oh, you can kick. I guess that's great. Or he's a soccer player, or he was a barefoot kicker or something. But now if you're good at something when you're 12 years old, they'll put you in the camps. They'll get you coaches. They'll get data on it. He was telling me about how they have like biomechanical stuff. And I'm watching baseball the other night, and a dude throws 105. And I was like, excuse me? Like when Mariano Rivera used to dial it up to 97, I'd be like, whoa, that's throwing gas. Now that's an average fastball. I think the same thing is happening with kickers, where they're just getting better and better and better. And this is like the new age kid, Will Reichard. So he was fantastic in training camp, but the pressure in that stadium, the wind, all those things, it's going to be different than it is in college.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, Matt, we look back to years ago, kickers had little pot bellies. They didn't really work out. These guys are all jacked and they work out. Their sleeves are all rolled up and they can nail it from 60 yards. So, just a different world. So yeah, for sure.
Who was the fastest throwing Yankee pitcher of the 90s era when they were so good? Would it be maybe like Jeff Nelson?
Maybe
no,
Jeff.
He was
Mike. How about Stanton? Mike Stanton.
Nelson had the slider. That's right.
Okay. How about Mike Stanton back then? Maybe Mike Stanton, Mike?
Kind of a lefty specialist. Maybe could tune it up to like 94.
Okay. Oh, no. They had Chapman. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking like way back a little bit. I guess Roger Clemens would be that guy.
Okay.
But even Roger Clemens, 97, 98 was like mind blowing. And now if you don't throw that, you can't even play in the league.
Right. I don't know if Andy Pettit had it up at that high. Maybe
no, probably not.
He didn't. They had Rigetti. They had Rigetti in the 80s.
Right.
And they had the other kid, Abbott. Remember the one-arm kid?
Oh, yeah. Threw the no-hitter.
Yeah, threw no-hitter on 4th of July. Yeah. But
I watched.
yeah.
I remember watching David Cohn's perfect game. He was another guy that threw maybe
Sure.
94. A lot of curveball
Yep.
stuff.
Who was that against? Is that
Montreal.
Expos? That's
Montreal.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
Wow, good memory. So Matt, you covering baseball too, or you just sticking? I mean, you got the baseball stuff rolling.
Well, I actually don't get a chance to watch a lot of baseball now, but I came up a little bit in the baseball world. I did minor league play-by-play for 4 years when I was first starting in media. So I would talk to scouts and different things. And it's actually funny. I ran into a guy who played in that game that for Montreal that had the perfect game against David Cohn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I chatted with him a little bit, and he had become a scout and all that. And so that game always sticks out in my mind. But I did, since I grew up in Buffalo, New York, I watched and listened to John Sterling back when it was Sterling and Kay on the radio, and then Susan Waldman and all that. So I was very familiar with that era from maybe 96 through about 04, I think.
Okay.
So that was paying a lot of attention to.
Good years. Those are good years for them.
Certainly was.
Interesting enough, Matt, I believe Shea Tierney also grew up in Buffalo and has followed Dable since his Alabama days. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Shea Tierney could be the next one, even though Dable is calling plays. He came out and it became official. I could see Shea Tierney being the next one in line when Kafka moves on at some point. But I thought maybe you had a run in with Tierney at some point because he is from that Buffalo area.
Yeah, I left in 2016, so that was my first year covering the Vikings. So I have been a Midwesterner for a while. It took a while to get used to. They drive differently out here in the Midwest. They go the speed limit. It's very weird.
Right. Yeah. Have you been to Jersey area? Are you coming out for the game?
Oh yeah, no, I've been there. It's nuts.
Okay. Yeah, it is. You're not coming out Sunday, are you?
No, I'll be there. Yep, I will be. We'll see what that Uber ride is like.
Well, what time are you swinging? What time are you getting into the parking?
Saturday night, and then I'll Uber over to the stadium in the morning, and we'll go from there.
Swing by J19. Mike won't be there. I'll be there. Swing by J19. I'll have a non-alcoholic beverage ready for you so you can do your job.
All right. Well, and we'll see how it plays out. I feel like Vikings Giants always gives us something. Although no more. Maybe there could be the onside kick. There could still be like in '97 in the playoff game.
Oh, bad one, Chris Callaway. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Please bring up. You bring up all the good ones, Matt. Thanks, man. So Matt, before we let you run, I know we've been nice enough to hang with us this long. Give us your what do you think's going to happen on Sunday, and keys to the game for the Vikings to pull out a win. What's their keys to the game?
Yeah, I mean this one. See, it's hard because every game that we go through, it's the NFL. Like, it should be close, right? I mean, it should, but Vegas thinks it'll be close. These two teams are similar, but I also feel like the Vikings they're going to have a desperation here because their schedule is insanely hard after this. It's San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, and then over to London to play the Jets. It's a really tough, rough ride to start the season. I think that they can win, but all of a sudden I feel so much less confident talking about this. With Kirk, I knew who he would beat and who he wouldn't. I had watched so much of Kirk Cousins that you could get a sense, all right, he's going to throttle this team. He's going to struggle against this team. I have no idea what to expect from Sam Darnold, but I think from what I've seen in training camp, the fact that the Vikings are very healthy overall helps a lot. That they can come away with. How about a Will Reichert 52-yard field goal to win it? How about that?
I believe it, Matt. Since I opened up the door with that question, I could totally see it. I think the Giants set the NFL all-time record for most losses with game-ending kicks at the end of regulation over like 55 yards. Something crazy. Yeah. Well, not just kicks, but over 55 yards. We've had our hearts ripped out so many times with these 60-yard field goals. Ironically, Gano, who was with the Panthers, kicked one 61 yards or whatever when he was with them to beat the Giants. So, but Giant fans are all too familiar with these losses. Yeah,
that's proof it's going to happen.
Oh,
that's proof it's going to happen.
Unfortunately, you put it out. We put it out there, so I'll be blamed for that one. But Matt, we can't thank you enough. And once again, tell everybody where we can find you, even for all your NFL stuff and Vikings. But please tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, best place to go is just purpleinsider.com. That's got the YouTube, the podcast, the articles, everything up there. And going live on YouTube, just like you guys, not too long from now, probably 30, 35 minutes. And we'll go from there. I'm excited about this game, though, man. It's been a long off season for everybody. So let's play some football.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Everybody, pop on to Matt's channel after our show, and I'm going to be heading over there. And week one is always unpredictable, right, Mike and Matt? You just don't know. You see teams that just pull out these wins, and then they win 2 other games the rest of the season, a la Washington Commanders. So these are one of these weeks where it's just, as you know, it's almost the extension of the preseason, like we've seen. So hopefully that's not the case. We get a clean game, without all the turnovers.
Yep, you're absolutely right, man. And then with these quarterbacks, you really don't know what's going to happen.
That's the big caveat right there.
Right.
Well, Matt, thanks again for joining us, and we'll be following you. And hey, J19 on Sunday, swing over. I'll have a coffee and a seltzer ready for you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, Matt. Thanks. All the best.
Matt.
Appreciate it. Enjoy. Bye. All right, everybody. That was Matt Coller from Matthew
That was
Coller
good stuff.
from Purple Insider. Yeah, man, he is just so deep into the Vikings with the Purple Insider and being the beat reporter. So awesome job by Matt. He's not in the NFC East, so we only see him once because I'd bring him on again if we play him. But who knows? Playoffs, you never know. Maybe we see. You could never know what happens. But Mike, we're up. This is your time, Mike. I know we're moving into 8:00 almost, and I know you got some stuff lined up. I'm calling this Truth's Truth. Yeah, give me. Truth did a great job of doing some top 5 Giants for a Giants win, Vikings win, some key matchups. So go take it away, Mike. The floor is all yours.
Well, Matt touched on it kind of mockingly. This isn't really like a marquee showdown of quarterbacks this game, but I think that it's for the Giants to win. Part of it needs to be Jones needs to outplay Donald. He doesn't have to be the Jones of the 2022 playoff game, but he's got to do a better job in production and performance wise than Donald does. That to me, that's a given. Maybe no turnovers, get positive yardage, third down completions, things like that. Maybe some red zones, make some plays. I mean, I think it's vital that Jones, for his own sake, plays well, better than Donald. I also see here, and if you know me, Chris, I'm an old school guy. To me, the trenches is vital, in the trenches on either side of the ball. And it could be cliche-ish, and I say this a lot, but the Giants' new improved offensive line needs to play like the new improved offensive line that everybody's talking about. We talked about the blitz and stunts. They have to pick them up because I'm sure they're going to do that, the Vikings, somewhere along the line in this game. And the Giants' offensive line needs to be ready for that.
And Mike, to interrupt you, interesting what Matt said about Brian Flores. He's almost like a mad scientist. He can't help himself.
That's hilarious. He said that.
It's almost like a Rubik's Cube, right? He's just scrambling to find the combination. He'll do whatever it takes. And to your point with the 51% blitz rate, it's kind of what he does, man. If it's not working, he's going right to the plan B and the throw it to the wall and see if that works.
Right, and we don't know. We'll see if old dogs those learn new tricks here, but maybe he goes back to that way like he did last year. Somewhere along the line in this ball game, he may do some more blitzes on Jones. Then I look at the Giants' defensive side of the ball, and arguably the most talented players on this Giants team is on their defense. You got Lawrence, you got Burns, you got Thibodeau, you got Okereke. You have the most talented guys, I think, are on that defense side of the ball. So I think it's important for the Giants, for those guys right there, just name it. They could play their game and dictate the game to the Vikings. I think the Giants have a good chance of winning this game. And I'm talking about defending the run and also putting pressure on the quarterback on both ends on that one. I think that's important. We talked about the matchup with Banks against Jefferson. Now, we're not going to stop Jefferson. I don't think you can shut him down, but just limit big plays. If they can do that, like they did in the playoff game, and I understand that Jackson was guarding him, but they can limit him from those big plays and make him work for every yard, every catch. I think again, it'll go a long way to getting them to win this game. And I already mentioned it. My other one was the red zone and third downs. I think the Giants have to start getting better than that. At one point last year or the year before, they were pretty good in the red zone and in the third down. They kind of went 2 steps back last year, but this year they need to establish that, and where they can, make teams worry about them when they get inside the 20-yard line. So those are my keys for the Giants. If they can do some of these and some of them well, they got a good chance of winning.
And flipping it around, Mike, when you look at the Vikings, what do you think they're looking at?
Well, I think Matt pointed it out. I think what they're going to do. I think they're going to challenge Jones. I don't know how much respect they have for him. I think they're going to try to let him beat him. I think the defensive seven on the Vikings are going to be very active, and they're going to make Jones try to beat him. I think that. I think they'll focus on the run more. They'll try to keep the Giants from running the ball and make Jones try to throw the ball to win the game. And it's up to Jones to do well. If not, then the Giants could lose this game. That's how close I think it's going to be.
Yeah. And to your point, Mike, interesting enough, the narrative about Jones behind closed doors is the progressions, the pocket presence.
Right.
These teams, whether they believe it or not, they're going to test them. And to your point, they're going to come after him. And it's up to like you said earlier, the offensive line with Illuminor, Schmitz, Van Rotten, Runyon, and Thomas holding up, controlling the stunts and anything thrown at them, and just give Jones time. Give him some confidence. Let him go through the progressions. And like you said before, Mike, I agree with you. I think the Giants establish either in the short running game with the crossers or on the passing game, or the runs, to the edge, or run it up, up inside. But establish the run. Just give Jones a little more of a, breathing room, and just kind of ease him into the game, in the flow. Right. And
also Matt brought up a point that I mentioned a few weeks back. Jones, don't expect Jones like the 2022. He had 700 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. You're not going to see that from Jones. I think from his injuries, I think he'll run when he has to. When the pocket collapses and he has to run, he'll run. I don't think they're going to design a lot of plays for him to run the ball like they did that year.
Yeah.
Agreed. The guy's coming off knee surgery, neck surgery, right? It would not be smart for them to do that, I think, personally.
That's right.
So,
and Bill, good point with Van Roten. I keep telling myself, do not say Rotten, and you're so right. I have got to say Roten. It's just coming out too easy.
I thought you said it wrong before.
Oh, God, no, it's not good. It's not. I got to phonetically write that out. But Van Roten, Bill, I'm glad you brought him up, because the touchy situation with Schmitz at the center spot with the shoulder, and he got rolled up on in the preseason game, is if anything were to, change, he has to come out. They're going to slide Van Roten, who worked at center during training camp, to center, and then they'll slide Stinney over to right guard. So just something to keep an eye on. I hope Schmitz gets some confidence, plays well, and we can keep this line together, because all 5 guys are relatively healthy. I know Runyon didn't play the last game. They were kind of just sitting him out, rest him, but they're all ready to go. So this is, everybody, all hands on deck for this first game. How about some facts, Mike, before we head out? I know you had some, didn't you have some key matchups or facts?
Yeah, we talked about Banks.
Yep, Banks.
Talked about Banks against Jefferson, right? And he and Matt also touched on this with Dexter Lawrence. I really think, with the interior alignment of the Vikings, I think Lawrence is going to be a nightmare for them. They're going to have to double team. They're going to have to double team him, I believe. And if you double team him, it's just going to open up the defensive tackle, whether that's Chapman or Nacho, and open up stuff for Burns and don't forget Karakai. Karakai in the middle. They can do some packages. Bowen can do that and have them do some inside blitzes if they see Lawrence getting double teamed. Yeah, do a little stunt right there, and that's a good play to get on Donald. That's something they want to look out for. For sure. Forget about McFadden. McFadden can rush the passer too a little bit. Go ahead. Yeah, no, with McFadden, Mike, he has the groin, so if it's very thin on that inside. You might be looking at a Masso coming in there. Good point. So, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What about Simmons? Get him involved. Well, they got him listed as the nickel, and they're going to put him in.
That's just, I mean, I would think situational though, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
right? And those dime packages, nickel passages, they could move him around. That's what's great about Simmons. He's not your traditional linebacker, not your traditional safety, but you
I
could
think
move him
that's his
around.
game, Chris.
Linebacker.
I just think that's his game. Be a hybrid.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Move him around, and
Mhm.
let him be creative.
Create the confusion. You don't know where he's at,
Yep.
where he's
Yep.
coming from. I agree, and yeah, I would like. I think we're going to be, seeing him moved around, which will be good. Let Darnold see some ghosts, right? In MetLife, he's used to that.
That's right. That's right.
Oh,
So
yep.
are we come boiling down to prediction time?
Yeah, we got 8:02. I know everybody here has suffered enough. All right, you suffered enough with Craig on Mondays. Now you suffer with me and Mike. So we're gonna let you off the hook in a few minutes. Mike, give me your predictions. What are you thinking?
All right.
What are you feeling?
I just think. All right.
Real quick, anybody else want to throw some predictions? Go ahead. Feel free.
Yeah,
Go
guys.
ahead,
Yeah, shoot them out to us. I just think because again, we're not dealing with quarterback play of the elite, and not to put them down, but and I think first game, I just think this game is going to be a defensive battle, so to speak, and I can see. I'm going to be optimistic here, being home. Giants are home. I'm going to say they're going to pull off a win with Cano finally healthy and kicking the winning field goal for them.
Oh my God, Mike, we're going to have to suffer to 13 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Oh.
Yes. Or
how many yards, Mike?
They may do early. It may be early on that, but they may hold on the Giants defense.
Okay.
I'm going to say 16-13 Giants.
Oh wow, that's really okay. Okay. I was feeling last week, not sure. I'm feeling the Giants in the fourth quarter pull away a little bit, and I'm keeping it real. Listen, I'm not hopeful against Cleveland. Washington, I'm not sure. Dallas, I'm not sure. But I think 27-16. I'm feeling the Giants get up on 10 points in that fourth quarter and get a little breathing room. As crazy it sounds, and the reason is,
I hope you're right.
I'm thinking Dable. He's going to be pumped calling these plays. I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve. He's going to let Jones ease into the game until when he's feeling comfortable, and then he'll open it up when he has to. But I feel like with the 100th anniversary, it's just going to be. I feel like it's the right day for the Giants to pull out a win, just with all the circumstances, with a Darnold coming back, and he hasn't. He's been basically a backup and bounced around. I feel like the Giants in that fourth quarter pull away 27-16. But hey, Jay, I get it, man. Super ugly game. I agree with you guys. It could happen. Nothing's going to surprise me, but I do feel like the Giants are going to surprise and put up some points. I say 27-16.
Hey, Jay gave me a compliment. I don't think you realized it. Look at the third up. Look at the one third from the bottom.
Oh, really? The Dino impersonation.
Hey, I take that as a compliment, man.
That is, Jay. You just reminded us we got to get him on the show. He's holding out for more money. Craig can't afford him right now, so we're gonna have to throw in some Zeppelis and some linguine, and he'll pop on a couple bucks in an envelope. But all right, so you got a 16-13. Jay thinks ugly game, but Bill with the three Gano field goals. Yeah, I could see some Gano field goals.
I see 3 field goals by Cano, 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I would like to see the Giants get on top first and get some momentum. I'm tired of how many times, and real quick, we're going to let everybody go, but everybody it's in the show, and you too, Mike, how many times do the Giants fall behind in the first quarter, right? Can we get up on a lead in 2024 right off the bat and take that lead? They're always battling back, so maybe we'll get a change. What do you think, Mike? Think they get up first?
Yep, I agree. How about this, guys, for a prediction? Anybody want to guess if the Giants score a touchdown, who's going to score the first touchdown for the Giants for 2024?
We're going to have to mark these down. Go ahead. We got a couple minutes.
All right, let's mark them down. Guys, who do you think? I'm going to write down who I think.
All 3 of you watching the show right now, give us some names. All right, Mike, while we're waiting, how about you? Throw a name out. Who do you think?
I'm going to pick this young man because of all the kind of like heat he got because of Barkley leaving. I'm going to say Singletary.
Okay.
I think he's gonna slowly win the hearts of the Giant fans. By mid-season, they're gonna forget about Saquon.
Okay. Okay.
I don't see
Since we're
anybody. I don't see anybody taking the
no,
challenge here.
nobody's guess. I'm gonna go
Oh,
with
wait
one
a
of the
minute.
less. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Oh, all right, close. Me too. Yeah,
wait, Mark. But
27-17.
who's the first touchdown pass to?
Yeah, tell us that, Mark. I know we got the 27-17. I'm right on with you with that.
I guess he
DJ
means
throws.
neighbors. He says Malik first.
Okay.
So
So,
Mark Thompson has neighbors.
all right, Mark T has neighbors. I'm gonna go with the unconventional. I'm gonna go Bellinger.
Oh
He
boy,
comes back and you know,
I would love that. If it's Bellinger, Chris, I would love that. I really
wouldn't that
would.
be something full circle for him
Yes.
because he's been kind of quiet, you know?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay, so I'll say Bellinger just to break it up, and wouldn't surprise me if he goes back to his because hey, talk about the Minnesota game. Bellinger did well, you know, going back to those 2 Minnesota games they played in
Yep.
22. Yeah. Oh, all right. No. 6 offensive. I like to say Bellinger, but I think they still have him as a 6 offensive line. I hope not. All right, we'll put. All
Hey,
right, so
Mark
Bill's
gave
going to
us
go
two
Bellinger.
predictions here. Mark's
Oh,
giving two predictions. What's going on?
a rushing TD by Singletary. Oh, so Mark, is it going to be? I think he said 2 touchdowns by Neighbors before we threw it out there. But I think Mark, if I'm correct, you're saying a touchdown by Singletary. I think is the
You
first
took
one.
my answer.
Yeah, we'll put him on there. If that's it,
You
Mark.
took
We're gonna.
my answer. He's a smart man.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool though. If Singletary. I mean, it would be cool if Singletary rushed for had 15 to 20 touches for some crazy reason and rushed for almost 100 yards and caught 5 passes for 75 or something like that. That
Oh
would
my
be
God,
cool.
that would be an awesome game. He did that. That's a very
Yeah,
good
right.
game for
Yeah.
any running back. Wow.
Everybody's focusing on Neighbors. Singletary could be a big part of the game plan. So
And Matt
open things
mentioned
up.
Aaron Jones about him out of the backfield. So Singletary,
Yeah.
very much very similar running
Oh
styles.
man, I'll tell you, Mike. The more you dig into this game, how similar they are with almost every aspect of their game. Both teams. It's just a matter who's going to execute and the turnovers. Right? It comes down to turnovers.
Yeah. Yep. Execute Tracy. Bill has Tracy maybe.
Oh, I like that one. That could be a
I
little
like
draw
that kid.
play.
I hope he has a good rookie year.
Yeah, me too. And I hope we see him on kickoff. So we'll there was a lot of talk, and I know we keep talking, but Mike, there was a lot of talk on NFL radio the past week that a lot of the coaches and the special team coaches during preseason, as much as we wanted to see them show stuff, they really didn't because they're holding out for the season. But you expect that from an offense, but you would think with the new kickoff, they would still work on some things. But it seems like in the games, they really didn't show anything. So keep an eye on the kickoffs if that's going to change from the kicking team and the receiving team. So that's fun to watch on starting tomorrow night. So tomorrow, Friday, we got some games, right off the bat, 2 nights in a row, which will be cool.
Yep.
Anything else, Mike? Yeah, good.
No, listen, I'm just going to be optimistic. I am going to I'll be watching the game while I'm working. Unfortunately, I'm in the golf world, so I work on the weekends. So I'll be watching the game, and I'm going to be positive. I'm going to root for the Giants, and they're going to win. They're going to win. They're going to start the season off 1-0.
That would be great. And Mark T did say rushing TD by Singletary to start it off. So okay, Mark, awesome. All right, well that's going to do it, everybody. And Monday, come back. You'll have Craig and whoever else is on the show for NY Giants Rush. They'll do a recap of Sunday, which will be fresh in everybody's minds. We'll either be going through therapy or we'll be celebrating. So let's check back here. And Monday show is always usually 8:00. Truth and I, or whoever, if I'm not on, we kind of figured out that we're going to do 7:00 on Wednesdays. I will say though, Mike, when the Giants play Dallas, we may move that. Maybe we should move it to Tuesday night.
Yeah, we'll be flexible, guys.
On that
based
Thursday
on the
night
schedule.
Game. Yeah, right.
Just look on Twitter or on X, whatever.
Yep.
And we'll let you know.
Yeah, but for the most part, we'll be here every Wednesday, whether it's me, Spartan, Mike, doing the show. But we appreciate your time on the Rush Hour preview show. We hope you enjoyed it. And, hey, enjoy the game. I'm in lot J19. We're trying to get Mike up this year at some point. I know Shawnee, but Mike's still working on it. But Hey, J19, swing over for some food and drinks. I know Mark stopped by last year. Hopefully we get to see Mark again this year. But all right, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and go Giants.